Well, hello, students. Hello, teachers. Here we are again. If you haven't been with us before, welcome. If you have been with us before, welcome back. We have another great lesson for you, coding in the curriculum. Today, we are looking at math, and we're going to talk probability. What are the chances? We're going to do math today and code 100%. Before we get started, we always want to recognize these lands that we are on. If you have not had a chance to check out this map, you will see the link on the page, native-land.ca. What an amazing resource to help us learn more about the Indigenous peoples that came before us. I am here in Calgary. I would like to recognize that these are the Indigenous lands of the Blackfoot, the Kainai, Piikani, Stoney Nakoda, Tsuut'ina, Métis. Really, truly blessed to be able to be here on these lands. I just want to say a thanks and acknowledge that. Who am I? I'm Michelle Armstrong. I mentioned I'm based in Calgary. I'm with the Cobblestone Collective. We get to work with teachers and students like you alongside Google, like this lady below me that we're going to meet in just a second. But we are thrilled to be able to hang out, have fun, and code with all of you. So we are going to get coding today. We're going to meet some more Tooglers. Sandy's going to tell you what Tooglers are. We're going to do some coding and then we're going to show our work and you get to ask our Tooglers some questions. How are you going to ask questions? You'll find out in a second. But this note is for you, teachers. We are coming to you from via YouTube Live. We might go a little fast at times, but have no fear. You can pause at any point. You can rewind to get instructions again or replay this over and over and over. The recording will not go away. So teachers, just know you have all sorts of control. Now, students, how are you going to communicate with us? Easy peasy. You will see a link on the screen, thecc.page/CS first. You're going to go into a new tab. Bryce is already here. Tyson is already here. You guys must have done this before. But what Bryce and Tyson did is they typed in thecc.page/CS first. They let us know their name. And let's ask, what grade are you in? So let us know in the forum. What's your name? What grade are you in? And then with that, while we're waiting for those responses to come in, I will introduce Miss Sandy Curry is here with us. Hello, Sandy.
Hello, Michelle, and hello, educators and students. And I see that form populating. I think we must have had a few students who have been with us before, Michelle. So we have Constance, Hans, Renee, Tyson, Karsten, Elaine, Tristan, Anne-Marie, lots of students finding that form already. So I too am so excited about today because we know that computer science is actually in the math curriculum. So it makes sense to do CS first in math, but we're also today going to show you how we can learn a little bit of some of the other expectations in math using CS first. So CS first in itself teaches us some of those math things, but it's also a tool that we can use while we're doing math. So super excited about that. Sarah says she's in grade 6. Jennifer says hi. Bryce says I'm in grade 6. So mostly grade 6s, I think, so far, Michelle. So that form is starting to populate. So maybe what we can do is maybe we can start to bring out our Googlers, and our Googlers today we are calling Toogler. So there's Toogler Mackenzie, there's Toogler Catherine, and Toogler Travis isn't feeling so well today. I know there's lots of different bugs and flus going around, so he's taking care of himself, practicing a little bit of that self-care. But what is a Toogler? So if you work at Google, we call you a Googler. So Mackenzie and Catherine are Googlers. But today, because they're volunteering to teach you and your teachers, we call them Tooglers. So they're volunteering their time to hang out with you today. And so just before I pass it over to Mackenzie to introduce herself, students, I would love you to continue to use that form and start to, as we go through the presentation, think about what questions you might have that you'd like to ask Mackenzie or Catherine about Google, about computer science, about their journey to working at Google, whatever it might be. And you can populate those into the form, and we'll have a chance, hopefully, to get to all of them once we get to Q&A at the end of the session. And so I'm just going, so we've got Jackie, Jennifer, Giorgio, Caitlin, Sarah. Sarah says our school is the best. That's so nice to hear. We have Janice says hi. Mikkel says he's in grade 6. So lots of students joining. All right. So
Sandy, I just want to point out before you go, because I know you're leaving, did you notice Jackie and the grade 6s from Mississauga are joining us for the very first time, which is so cool. Thank you for letting us know that, Jackie.
We're so excited, Jackie, to have you and your classmates here with us. And so with that, I'm going to go into the back of the broadcast studio. I'm going to watch what's happening, and I'm going to pop out a little bit later. Mackenzie, you ready to take it over?
Hi, everyone. My name is Mackenzie, and I'm one of your Tooglers teaching Googlers today. So I just wanted to introduce myself a little bit and tell you about my path to Google and how math has been a kind of integral part about my career so far. So I'm originally from Kelowna in British Columbia, and I moved to Toronto about a while ago, and I studied robotics engineering at the University of Toronto. This was a really great degree, and it allowed me to get a bunch of internships. So as you can see on my path to Google there, I was able to do things like building a solar powered car and driving it across America. That was really fun. And then I did a few internships at Intel and then one at Google. And now I work full time. I'm a software engineer on the cloud healthcare team at Google. And over to Catherine to introduce herself.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Catherine. Like Mackenzie, I'm also from BC. So my path to Google, starting in high school, I had never taken any computer science classes really. I didn't have access to them, and I didn't know about computer science or coding or anything. I did take a lot of math classes though, which I enjoyed, even if it was hard sometimes. So then I went on to study computing in university. I went to Queen's. And during the course of that, I did an internship at IBM where I did software development. And once I graduated, I came to work at Google, first in cloud support and now as a software developer, also on the cloud healthcare team with Mackenzie. And a fun fact, while I'm working at Google here in Waterloo, I'm also doing a part-time master's in computer engineering at the University of Waterloo.
Amazing. Wow. Well, you guys, I think I might have my work cut out for me. It looks like you guys have done a whole lot more math than me, but I think hopefully we'll still be able to do some super cool stuff. I bet I'm going to learn a thing or two. We're going to get started coding pretty quickly. Mackenzie and Catherine, you guys are going to kind of be the students today, right? Okay. Take yourself back to grade maybe 5, 6 probability. We'll see what you remember. So today, teachers and students, basically, we are going through activity 1 from this super awesome Cobblestone crate. So all of you teachers received this. This has 5 activities that you can continue coding even after today. We're just going to do activity 1 all together. There's all sorts of other cool hidden stuff inside that crate. So teachers, if you haven't explored that yet, definitely you want to do that. Students, now it's time for us to get our Scratch for CS First page loaded. You have 2 ways to get into a blank project today. If you are already logged into CS First, you're just going to be able to create a new blank project, and away you go. If you're not logged into CS First, have no fear. You can open a blank project just by clicking on that link that you see on the screen. So, Mackenzie, Catherine, this is now your chance, your choice to get yourself into a new blank project. I'm going to show you all how to get there. And then, students, let us know in the form when you've got a brand new blank project open. So, if you are ready to go to sign into CS First, you're going to go to csfirstwithgoogle.com. You're going to sign in. I think some of you already know this part. You are going to say that you are a student. You are going to log in however you log into CS First. But now this is a little bit different. Usually we start with a starter project. Today, we're kind of hacking CS First a little bit so we can do math. So you should see a plus button where it says new project. That's going to get you into a brand new CS First for Scratch project. Easy peasy. I wonder if we have any students already there. Oh my goodness. We got Ariella is ready. Manas has it open. Elise is in. Karsten is in. You guys are amazing. So again, students, if you log into CS First, you're going to see that plus button. Go ahead, open a new blank project. Or here you go is your plan B. You will see a link on the page. I'm even going to put it down below as well. If you type in this short link, it's going to get you right to a blank project. You don't even need to be logged into CS First. So if you're struggling getting logged in, go with plan B, the cc.page/blank project. Well, Mackenzie, do you have a blank project ready to go?
I'm in.
And Catherine, how about you?
Yep, I am ready.
Looks like we have a lot of students ready as well. We've got Jagger and Solara is in. Open the blank project. Janice, Constance in now. Fabulous. So teachers, this might be a point. If you're realizing students are taking a bit of time to get to that blank project, feel free to pause us at any point. We are going to do a little bit of a vocabulary check before we get coding. So you got another couple minutes to get organized before we get coding. Jackie, it's slowly but surely they are getting there. Okay, vocab check. Taking us back. Oh, this actually is computer software type terms. I will bet Mackenzie and Catherine, you are going to do okay on this part. Students in the form, if you know what a variable is, or what a loop is, or what conditional statements are, let us know in the form. Let me check in with my students. I'm going to pick on Catherine. Catherine, what is a variable?
Well, a variable is something you assign a value to, and that value can be a number, it could be a word, and you can change what that value is for that variable. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And I think we're going to be coding using variables, but that makes perfect sense. It's like, okay, I'm going to assign just a name to something bigger. So all I have to do is call on that variable. Yes, we are going to do that. Mackenzie, what would be a conditional statement?
So a conditional statement is when you execute or you ask the computer to execute something based on maybe a previous variable. So you can say something like, if the value of my variable is 1 or hello or anything you want really, then do this. And then you can have a bunch of different conditional statements to control what your computer is doing.
Awesome. Yes, absolutely. So Mackenzie and Catherine, do you guys use variables and conditional statements kind of in your everyday coding? Right? Yeah, exactly. And students, we're going to be using variables and conditional statements. You'll see there's one more word on there. It's loops. We're going to go to our student audience. Sarah says a loop is something that repeats over and over, like repeating pattern. Yes, Tyson says something that repeats. Who else do we have? We've got Bryce knows what loops are. Renee knows what loops are. So does Sarah. So something that repeats. We're going to use all of these things in our code today. So great job, Mackenzie and Catherine students, and you students out there. More vocab. Probability. What is probability, and what are some words that help to describe probability? So students in the forum, let us know, what are those words that you think of when we're thinking probability? Let's go with Mackenzie first. Give me one word that has to do with probability.
Percentage.
Ooh. Catherine, what's another one?
I think of the word chances.
Ooh, chances. Mackenzie, back to you. Let's go. What's another one?
Oh. I didn't think it was going to come back to me.
Take a look at the form. The students are putting answers in. They can help you.
Still their answer. Yeah, randomness. That's
Nice.
for Hans.
Perfect. Good job, Hans. Way to help out your classmates. We also have Riston says chance, probable. We've got Judy that has a whole definition. Karsten talks about how high or low the chance is. So again, I like Aiden and Renee. You guys both said likelihood. Awesome. Let's take a look at this next slide. So here are some other terms: likely, unlikely, certain, impossible, even chance. Perhaps it's a certain percentage. So students, we're going to be creating a probability story inside Scratch for CS first. So take a look at these words. Think of some of those other probability words. Now we have to come up with a story. So think of one of those probability words and what's a scenario where that word could be used. So I'll give an example, and then Mackenzie and Catherine, we're going to go to you. Students, we want you thinking of scenarios. So my probability, so last night, like my cat, like I think literally slept on my head, was scratching at me at the middle of the night. So my story is going to be the probability that my cat will sleep in my bed tonight is probably 100%, or it's certain. So I feel like I'm going to be coding something to do with my cat and the certainty that it will sleep in my bed. Let's go with you, Catherine. Do you have a probability story?
I do have one I'm thinking of. Should I tell you now or should I wait for the showcase? Okay, I'll tell you now. So using the word chances, I'm thinking, well, what are the chances that an event could happen? So what are the chances that a frog could catch a fly?
Ooh.
So something along those lines. I know there are some fun sprites in Scratch, so we'll see what we have.
Great thinking. Think about the sprites that are inside Scratch for CS First. Mackenzie, do you have an idea so far?
I do. I'm not sure that I'll be able to make it in CS First specifically, but I have this really fun mug here. And I was just thinking, it's me and my dog. I'm not sure if you can see that, but I'm just wondering if it is likely that I'm about 7 years old in that picture.
Oh, interesting. I love it. So taking something from real life, adding a probability there. Wonderful. Well, do you know what? We have a few other student ideas. Judy says the possibility that the dog will jump out the window. Oh dear. What's the likelihood that tomorrow it will not snow? Wonders Aiden. Great. Eva, is 100% likely that she's going to get homework tomorrow. All right, students and Mackenzie and Catherine, we are ready to start coding our probability story. Hopefully, students, you've come up with some ideas on what you can code. If you just want to follow along with me, that's okay too. but we would love for you to come up with your own probability story. So with that, we are going to dive over to some coding. Students, you should all be here. You should see the Scratch Cat. I'm even going to go full screen for us all. If you didn't get yourself to this Scratch Cat, that link is still there for you, the cc.page/blank project. We are starting completely from scratch, pun intended, but we are going to make our own probability story with our blank project. So first thing we need to do, we need the character of our story. My story is about a cat, but I'm thinking I want a different sprite. I don't want this Scratch Cat. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that sprite. And I want to get a brand new sprite. So if you haven't done Scratch for CS First before, the little cat in the bottom right, we click on that. And that brings us to our sprite library. And just like Catherine said, she based her story just on looking at some of the sprites. So some of you may also do the same thing. For me, I'm looking for a cat. Ooh, this panther. Oh, I like this. Take a look. When you hover over the sprites, you're going to notice some of them move. That means they have costumes, and we're going to be using costumes. So I highly, highly recommend find yourself a sprite that has some movement to it, because we're going to add that into our code. So for me, I want this panther. It looks like a cat that's laying down. So I've picked my sprite. So students, you go ahead, pick a sprite, put it somewhere in your scene. That's step one. Done. Easy. If you find that we're going a little bit too fast, let us know in the form. Mackenzie and Catherine, if I'm going too fast or you have questions, you just jump in anytime. But let's move on. Next step is getting our background. So we're just setting the scene of our story. So to choose a background, right over in the bottom right-hand side, just beside where you enter your sprites, that's where you're going to get new backgrounds. So I'm going to click on get a new background. And remember, my story had to do with whether or not my cat would sleep on my bed tonight. And I see a number of bedrooms. So that's cool. I'm just going to pick this bedroom 3. Why not? Oh, I see my cat is a little bit big. I hope my cat isn't bigger than my bed. So you might need to take a moment and resize your sprites. So I'm going to put my cat up on my bed. Students, if you're not sure how to resize your sprite, just take a quick peek up at the video up at the front. You will see the size box is just below your background. And mine currently says 100. I'm going to change that to, let's change that to 50. That's all good. I think I like that. My cat's still a little bit big, but not as big as my bed. So I like that. So we've got a background. We've got our sprite. We've resized and positioned our sprite where we want it to be. And now it's time to code. Kaon. My cat's name is Luna. And Luna is the one that usually sleeps on my bed. Thank you for asking. All right. Mackenzie, Catherine, so far so good. Did you guys get a sprite and a background? We'll check in with you.
Yes, I got both.
What's your background? What's your sprite?
I am using the boardwalk background, and I have Puppy as my sprite.
All right. Catherine, did you get a background and a sprite?
I did. My background is a forest, and I have a couple sprites, a frog and a mermaid.
I love that. So you don't have to follow me exactly. Hopefully you're building your own story. Awesome. We're going to get back to coding. Students, if you want to let us know in the form what sprite and what background you chose. So Manas has stars and the sprite is Earth. Ooh, I like that. I can't wait to hear what the probability story is there. Excellent. Okay, so now we're going to get into coding. the first thing we need to do is decide, well, what is our question going to be? So in my case, I want to ask a question, and our ask block, we are going to see our ask block is blue. So in our sensing, so take a look over in the left-hand menu, you should see the blue blocks. You should see an ask block. And that's how we're going to start our probability story. So I'm going to bring my ask block over, and my question is going to be, what is the probability that I will sleep on this bed? So I'm going to put this in the voice of my cat, Luna. And so you'll see we're asking our probability question, and then we're waiting. So hopefully that makes sense for you. So you're going to ask whatever probability question, knowing that your answer is going to be one of those probability words that we looked at earlier. So what is the probability that, with a T, I will sleep on this bed? And then this is where we bring in those conditional statements. If the answer is one thing, I'm going to do something. If the answer is something different, I'm going to do something else. So we are looking for a conditional statement that has if and else. And we are going to find those over in our, it's a darker orange, in our control menu. So in your control menu, you should see if, then, else. So not just the if, then, we're diving into even deeper conditional statements, if, then, else. And now we have some spaces to fill in. All right. If my answer is something, so I need to find a way to be able to trigger that it knows what the answer to my question is. And you'll notice, students, if you look up at the front, you'll notice there's a little space where we can put in our variable. And when we are looking for our variables, let's actually grab an operator first. So when you go into the green menu, you'll notice there's those same shapes. That's a hexagon, I think. But we are looking for a hexagon that basically allows us to say, okay, if the answer is, in my case, 100%, then we're going to do something. But if you look at those, wait a second, there's nothing that actually says anything to do with these words I want to use. But have no fear. You'll notice there's this block here, if blank equals 50. Now, don't worry, we can change this. So you'll notice if I hover this over my if then, boop, that green shape fits right in there. And so my question is, what's the probability that I will sleep in this bed? If I wanted to, I could change this 50. I could change this to 100. Whoops, let's try that again. I could change that to a number, 100. I could even put the percent sign there. Whatever the answer to my question is going to be, that's what I want to put in that box. And so in my case, you know what? I want to go with one of those probability words. I want to say certain. So if the answer that the person puts in is certain, then I'm going to do something. All right, with that, so if the answer is certain, now we need to find that answer block. And those answer blocks are back in that blue section So sensing, so that's in your blue sensing section. You should see, oh, hey, look at that. It's an oval shape. It's the same color as my ask block. And so now what I've done is I'm going to be asking a question. And then if the answer is equal to certain, I'm going to do something. Or if not, I'm going to do something else. So with that, I'm going to leave that just up on the screen for you students, just so to make sure you see the code that you need to get. I'm going to check back in with Mackenzie and Catherine just to see so far so good how they're doing, if they have any questions. Mackenzie, you're doing good. Catherine?
Yeah, doing good.
Okay, so hopefully students, you are also following along. Let's dive back into coding. Unless Mackenzie, Catherine, any questions, comments for the students? We're good?
No.
They're just excited to keep coding. Okay, let's do it. All right. Okay, so you've asked your question. You're waiting for an answer. If that answer is certain, okay, then what's going to happen? Well, in my case, I want my cat to change costumes. Remember that my cat was moving when we selected that sprite? And Giorgio, you're asking me to go a little bit slower. Giorgio, I will absolutely try to go a bit slower. I'll repeat things as well. And teachers, again, if you need to pause, go right ahead. But yes, I'll try and slow things down. I'm pretty excited. So the next thing we need to do, if the answer is certain, we want that sprite to change costumes. Take a look over. You see up at the top, you've got a menu where it says code, but right beside that, you've got a menu that says costumes. Do you see that there? So my sprite has 3 costumes. It's standing, it's sitting, and it's laying down. Aha. Well, so Panther A, Panther B, Panther C. If I go back to my code, and if I say, if someone types in certain, then my cat is going to lay down. So I'm going to go into the looks. And inside my looks, you will see it says switch costume. So if they say certain, then I want my costume, to be the cat laying down. Do you see that? How the cat now is going to costume C or Panther C. So take a look at that code. If they get the answer you want them to get, go ahead and switch to the costume that you want to happen if they get that correct answer. Now, if they don't say certain, I want it to do something else. In my case, I think maybe I'll get my cat to just sit on the bed. If they don't say certain, we are going to change our costume to, instead of Panther C, I'm going to switch that to Panther B. So let's take a look at what that code is going to do. I wonder, students, if you notice that I haven't put any sort of an event in to trigger my code. I suspect if you've been with us before, if we go over to events, you can choose whichever trigger you want, whichever event you want. But I love this green flag. That's pretty nice and easy, green flag. And then the other thing I'm noticing, my cat is already laying down. I want to make sure my cat starts standing up. So hopefully, if you've been following, you know exactly how to make that cat stand up to start things off. So when my flag is clicked, I want my cat to be standing up. So I'm going to go back to the looks, and I want to switch the costume to, we want to make sure he's at Panther A, then ask the question. Let's test our code, see if it works. There he is. Take a look at that. I'm going to even go full screen here. So my code says, what is the probability that I will sleep on this bed? I'm going to say, I don't know, unlikely. And then I press enter. Oh, he's just sitting there. He's like, okay. So far, it feels like my code is working, but it's kind of hard to understand what my cat is thinking. So I think we should add some speech bubbles in there. Let's go in. I see students. Great job. It looks like you guys are doing okay. I don't see any comments in the forum, but if you are having troubles, let us know. We're now going to make our cat speak a bit more so we can understand what it's thinking. So if they answer certain, I think my cat is going to say like, haha, you're right, or something along those lines. So I'm going to pull in, maybe I'm going to use the say block. So if they answer certain, it's going to switch to the panther laying down and go, haha, you're right. I love sleeping on your bed. Whatever you would like to add, students, if the probability is correct, what is your sprite going to do? And what is your sprite going to say? And we do have Raina asked a question. How do you switch the costume? So Raina, take a look at this block right here. Switch costume to, you should have a drop down. Now, if you don't have a sprite that has multiple costumes, then there won't be anything in that drop down list. So it could be you just need to grab a new sprite that has some costumes. All right, so we've got what happens when they say certain, switch the costumes, it says something fun. I'm going to bring in another say block down below. Whoops, let's go back here. Come on now, try again. There we go. So if they don't say certain, then my cat is going to do something different. My cat's going to sit down, and I think my cat is going to say like, I think it's a different probability. Or maybe I'll go, ooh, this bed is comfy. Try again. Giving them kind of a hint like, oh, the probability is obviously different. I really want to lay on this bed. So we have, when the flag is clicked, we're going to switch our costumes. We're going to ask a question. And then based on the answer, we're going to do a couple of different things. Now, when we ran that code, did you notice it only asked me the question once? This is where we can use repeat blocks so that if I've answered it with the wrong answer, it's going to keep going and going and going. So let's see how we can add in a repeat block to keep asking that question. So if we go over to our controls, so I could repeat my question just a few times, or I want to repeat my question forever. So I'm going to put this forever block. And oh, you know what I'm going to do? Actually, I like this repeat until. Look at that. I'm just noticing. Ooh, I can repeat until they get the right answer. That makes sense. So take a look at the loop block that I'm choosing, we're going to put this over our entire code. Whoa, we are going to repeat until the answer equals certain. We're going to keep asking this question. So I use that repeat until, going back to my operators. And I'm going to that same equals operator. I'm going to change that 50 to certain. I'm going to bring in that answer block again. So we're back into sensing. So basically what I did, I copied the exact same scenario. If the answer equals certain, awesome, we're going to stop. But if not, we're going to keep going and going and going. All right, we are almost out of time for coding, but let me double check and see how this works. I'm going to go full screen. I'm going to press the flag. What is the probability I will sleep on this bed? I'm going to go unlikely. Ooh, this bed is comfy. Try again. Oh, yay, my repeat block worked. It's asking me again. What is the probability that I will sleep on this bed? I'm going to say certain. And, you're right. I like sleeping on your bed. So my code worked. I did some conditional statements. I did some loops. I had a variable. And we're talking about probability. Now, of course, students, we didn't have a lot of time. You can probably imagine other improvements to the code. Maybe you might put in a sprite that shows what your choices could be. Maybe that's part of your question. Who knows? Have fun with it. I want to know, students, in the form, let us know in that short little 15 minutes, what did you code? And we're going to see what Mackenzie and Catherine coded. You can see them they're just like you guys. They're like, no, I don't want to be done. I still have to finish. I've got more coding to do. All right, Mackenzie, Catherine, we are going to take a break. We are going to see what you got done so far. Have no fear. We'll give you lots of time to code after this. I think we want to bring Sandy back because I know Sandy wants to see this code as well. So let's say hello back to Sandy. Hi, Sandy. How was that for you?
That was exciting. I was watching so carefully. It took me a little bit. I was like, certain that the kitty cat was going to be able to stay on the bed. I got a little bit stuck on the wording, but it was so interesting to watch it come together. I can't wait to see what Mackenzie and Catherine have.
Yeah, and you're so right. I could have used what percentage. I could have used what fraction. So all of those probability terms we could have put in there for sure. Okay, well, let's just check in with our other students. Rania, you coded a bear. Oh no, what's the probability the bear is going to eat you? Judy had a monster in a room. Tyson, you had coded someone kicking a soccer ball. And Tyson says hello to you, Sandy. Awesome. Okay, Catherine, why don't we start with you? We're going to get your code up on the screen. And there it is. Tell us a little bit about your probability story.
So I did mine a little bit different to yours, Michelle, but let me do full screen and I will click play and then I'll explain a little bit more. So when I click green, they're asking, what are the chances the frog will catch this fly? And oh, he didn't catch the fly. But if we run it again, let's see if we get a different, oh, okay, let's keep running. Oh, here we go. Let's see if we get a different, oh, there he got the fly. So how did I do this? Basically, I had a variable, which we talked about earlier, and I assigned the variable a random number between 1 and 10. And if I was running that code, you might have been able to see in the top corner the value of that variable. I just called it random num for random number. And if the variable is greater than 5, which let me zoom in a little bit. Here, if the value is greater than 5, then the frog would be able to catch the fly. And if it was less, it would not be able to catch it. So I hope, does that make sense to everyone? Yeah. Oh, Michelle, you're muted if you're talking.
I'm muted. And it makes total sense, Catherine. And you know what I love? Activity 2 inside the crate that the teachers have goes into random numbers. So you have totally just like gotten a sneak peek of what comes up in activity 2. So nicely done. Awesome. Okay, Mackenzie, let's go ahead and switch over to your screen and let's see what you've got going on.
I am so happy to be going second because it wasn't ready 2 minutes ago, or rather it wasn't working. So what I did is I made the dog switch costumes. So I also used the random number, very similar to what Catherine did. But I knew that there was only 4 costumes that the dog could take on. So I assigned a random number and I assigned it a different costume for each possible number. So when I click this button, the person says sit, and the dog says there's only 25% chance that I will sit. It didn't work. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So there's something wrong with my code, but that's okay. Sometimes when the dog sits, a treat appears. And sometimes the dog doesn't sit. So anyways, the dog is supposed to sit and a donut will appear when the random number is, okay, it's not working.
That's so great, Mackenzie. And I think that probably a lot of our students are feeling the same thing. It's like, no, I'm not done. It's not working. But troubleshooting is part of coding, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And I can't wait to fix this later.
Did you do this on purpose just to show us?
Believe me, I did not.
Oh, well, Mackenzie, I think that's great. Hey, Mackenzie, while we still have your screen open, students, if you didn't get a chance to log into CS First, your program is not saving automatically. So Mackenzie's just going to show you really quickly, just in the file menu, Mackenzie, down there, you'll see you can save your program to your computer. So if you weren't logged into CS First, just save that file to your computer. And then later, once you get into CS First, you can load it back up and keep working on it. Keep troubleshooting. Awesome. Well, with that, I think we're going to turn it back over to Sandy for some Q&A time and commentary.
I absolutely loved everything that we just had a chance to watch. And students, I can only imagine teachers may have needed to pause a little bit. You're trying to watch Michelle. We're trying to understand new concepts. We're trying to drag blocks out and figure out how they work. We know that some of you have done some block-based coding before. For some of you, it may be the very first time. So thank you, Michelle, for role modeling that. Catherine, for being able to get your frog to catch that fly, and Mackenzie, just for helping us realize sometimes we need to do a little, is it called debugging, Mackenzie, when we're trying to figure out what's not quite working in the code?
Yeah, exactly.
And Catherine and Mackenzie, do you have to do some debugging in your work that you do at Google? Like, is that kind of a normal thing?
I would say the majority of the time is debugging.
All right. So much is that trying to problem solve and figure it out. So students, have no fear, you will get there too. So I see that we have some pretty cool questions starting to come in. So Mackenzie and Catherine, I'm just going to ask you, Menace asks, how does computer science help us? Like, we do talk about computer science being important and coding being important. It's in the math curriculum and the science curriculum now in Ontario. Why is it important? Mackenzie, could we start with you?
Yeah, for sure. So Sandy, one of the things that you always say that I love is that we live in a technology-enabled world. And so in pretty much every industry nowadays, maybe you'll have like a website for your company and behind that is computer science, or you may have, video games or something like that. And behind that is also all computer science. And so I think being able to kind of better understand what's going on and the technology that we're using, we're setting ourselves up for better life and to be able to kind of, work and live better. So I think it helps us a lot every day.
Love that, Mackenzie. It's integrated everywhere, right? So it's important for us to understand what is enabling our world. Good answer. All right, Catherine, what about you? What do you think? Why is computer science and coding, how do they help us?
Well, I totally agree with what Mackenzie said. I mean, computer science is everywhere now and it's applicable to so many different things. So even if you don't want to go on to be a software developer at Google, having some understanding of computers and computer science can still really help you no matter what path you're on. And from like a personal development standpoint, just learning how to problem solve, learning how to look at those problems and debug them and work through it in a logical way is something you get a lot of experience with doing computer science.
Love it. And I used to say, and I'm not sure if I've said it recently, I wish that I had exposure to software developers when I was an educator, because it wasn't really until I joined Google that I saw this mindset of like, oh, there's a problem. I'm going to roll up my sleeves and I'm going to fix it, rather than like, oh, I hit a problem. It's that mindset of we can figure this out. So I really love that. Great answers. And that was a great question, Dennis. So gotta ask, how many people work at Google? So Mackenzie or Catherine, who'd like to take a stab at that one?
I think there's about 100,000 people working at Google, and that's across the whole world. Google has many different offices in different countries.
Absolutely. Mackenzie, do you have an idea about how many work in the Google Waterloo office where both you and Catherine sit?
I think it's about 1,000. So the Waterloo office is the Google Canada headquarters, I believe. So it's the biggest one in Canada.
You are right, Mackenzie, and it's growing all the time as we're adding different teams. We're hiring more and more software developers, so that number continues to grow. So great question. Judy asks, did you do this when you were a kid, like block-based coding? Catherine and Mackenzie, did you get to do block-based coding when you were in school?
Personally, I didn't. I'm not even sure if things like, Scratch with CS First existed when I was a kid. And if it did, we definitely didn't get to do it at school, which is super fun and pretty cool that you guys are able to do that now. So yeah, all of you are way ahead of me already.
Love it. Mackenzie, what about you?
Neither. So I think that I was offered some computer science courses in high school, but I had this idea that it was kind of more targeted for the guys in my class. And so I took classes like arts and crafts, which I personally loved, but I also never got to experience doing coding like this. And so, my first experience like writing code for a computer was in first year university in my engineering program. And I was pretty rough at the start, I will admit.
Well, I love your honesty around this, and students and teachers. This is why we feel it's so important for students in grade 6 and 5 and 4 to have a little bit of exposure to being a creator and not just a consumer of technology. Mackenzie and Catherine, this is Challenge by Choice. How old are you?
I'm 24. Thank you for asking.
I'm 25.
And I appreciate you both sharing, which is why I said challenge by choice. But I think it's important for our students to hear you're not that much older than they are when they're in grade 6. They're 11-ish years old. And so students, just think, doing this creating, learning a little bit about block-based coding. We know that you all won't all go to Google and you don't all want to go to Google, but there could be a pathway for you in computer science. So Catherine and Mackenzie, thanks for sharing your ages with us. I am much, much older, 30 years as a principal, and I'm now in year 5 at Google. So you guys, since it's a math lesson, you can do the math on that one. All right, so Brennan asks, what do you code at Google? So maybe a little bit about what teams you're on. Would that work? Mackenzie, let's start with you.
Yeah, for sure. So Catherine and I are actually on the exact same team. But some of the work that we do is to help hospitals and insurance companies be able to store healthcare data in Google Cloud. So yeah, we basically just have to integrate with different hospital systems and allow them to easily use our product.
Perfect. And that sort of goes back to that first question about how does it help us, right? We're taking all those paper copies and we're digitizing them so that we have greater access amongst our healthcare practitioners. So that is awesome. Michelle, do we have time for another couple? All right. So this is a bit, well, let me ask this one first. What encouraged you to code? Now, I think you've both sort of touched on this, but Catherine, I'm going to start with you. What encouraged you to get into this line of computer software development?
Yeah, so excuse me. Similar to Mackenzie, I didn't code until my first year of university. So some people might think it's a little strange. I never coded anything and then jumped right into a computer science program, but that was a bit of a leap of faith. And I was lucky that it turned out I really enjoyed it. I always knew I enjoyed things like math and science and problem solving, so it seemed like a natural fit. And yeah, after just a little bit of experience working on different projects, I realized how much I enjoyed it, and that made me want to pursue it further.
Beautiful. And we're in a math lesson, right? We're doing coding. We're doing block-based coding in math. And so we're trying to make sure, students, that you understand where that math pathway could lead you. And I think Catherine has just said she wasn't sure that's where she was going to end up. Mackenzie, what about you?
Very similarly, I only took coding in first and second year university because I was mandated to. I was forced to, and it ended up working out as a great career path for me. But one of the things that one of the reasons why I continued coding was because I really like that there's kind of always a right answer. Like computers, they only speak in zeros and ones. So it's always kind of deterministic, like it's, which is another probability word. But yeah, similarly to solving a math problem, 2 + 2 = 4. That's just, that is a known fact. And I love that about coding because, when something goes wrong, as you saw with my coding program earlier, it's from the code. And we know that for sure. So it's just about kind of finding that and debugging it, which I really like.
All right. So really quickly, Catherine, what language do you code in most in your work at Google?
Ooh, I would probably say mostly in Java.
Okay, Java. And Mackenzie?
Same, Java and or Python recently.
All right, a little bit of Python. And so maybe you pick the language depending on what the problem is you're trying to solve. Would that be fair?
Exactly.
All right. Well, for me, it's Scratch for CS first. That's the most coding. That's the extent of my coding, but I am learning a little bit each time. And so it is time for our final word. And so at this point, Mackenzie, if you were going to leave our students with the final word and our educators today, what would it be?
Yeah, I would just say to stick with it. As I mentioned, I didn't really enjoy coding for the first 2 years of university, the first 2 years that I tried it. And it ended up proving to be a really great career path for me and something that I enjoy doing every day. So yeah, I'd just say try to have fun with Scratch for CS first while you're doing it.
Very good. Have fun. And if at first you don't succeed, try again. All right, Catherine, your final word for our students and educators.
Yeah, I would say that I hope today you saw how creative coding can be, how you can create so many different things, and it could take you places you never thought you would go. So keep an open mind, and yeah, you never know where it could take you.
Love it. Well, Mackenzie and Catherine, round of applause, virtual for you for joining us today. Students, I pulled them away from their actual Google work to come and help to inspire and educate you today. So thank you very much, Mackenzie and Catherine. And Michelle, I think it's time to turn it back over to you.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Sandy. Well, students, Of course, we need to end everything with homework, but guess what? The homework is for your teachers, not for you. Woo, woo. Teachers, you received an email with all sorts of information. One specific thing in there is how you can share students' work with us. So Catherine and Mackenzie and the other Tooglers and Sandy and I can see your work. So teachers, there's info in your email on how you can send those student files to us for the public showcase. As well, teachers, you have this great 5 activities. The first one we just got started on today. There's all sorts of other great stuff in there. So teachers, we encourage you explore those lessons. And there's even more. There's students, you could be coding in science and language arts, in music class. There is so much coding to do, and we have crates to help you guys along the way. Teachers, check those out. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Sandy for the final word.
Absolutely. Well, I knew there was a high probability that my dog would start barking at some time during the presentation, and I think you may have heard him in the background. So just wanted you to know we blended that in purposely into the math probability lesson. Educators, we really hope that you will encourage at least one other educator to sign up for one of our sessions so that our Googlers can help to inspire the students and you with coding in the curriculum, in math, and across all subject areas. And with that, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. We hope that you have a great day and happy coding, everyone.